introduce Luigi Achilli. Luigi Achilli is part-time assistant professor here at the EUI. His research and writing focus on irregular migration, transnational crime, refugee studies, political engagement and nationalism, and the Palestinian issue. Just a couple of weeks ago, if I may say, he was awarded a consolidator grant from the ERC. So Luigi, many congratulations for that. His project will be entitled The Underbelly of Migration Governance, Exploring the Intersection of Transnational Crime and Migration Governance, also known as Undergov, I understand. This afternoon, Luigi will be presenting his paper entitled TikTok Trails, Decoding Migrant Smugglers, Visual Narratives in Migration Advertising. So we are going to listen to Luigi for about 20-30 minutes, after which we will have around 30 minutes for Q&A. So of course, you're all invited to participate and join in with questions and comments. For the participants joining us online, feel free to raise your virtual hand during the Q&A, or you can also type your question in the chat during the presentation if you prefer that I read it out loud here in the room. And with this, I will hand it over to Luigi for his presentation. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Eleonora, for the kind introduction. So, well, as Eleonora said, and as is pretty clear from the title of this presentation, what I will be focusing on is the messages posted on TikTok by smugglers in order to elicit to advertise their services. Now, if anything, what perhaps struck me the most about these messages is that they verge substantially from what we are accustomed to hear and see and think about human smuggling, about migrant smuggling, at least by the dominant mainstream narratives of irregular migration and human smuggling. Just to give you an idea, the idea that human smuggling is orchestrated by these reckless criminals who doesn't hesitate a second to toss their human cargo at sea or to abandon migrants under the scorching sun of the desert. Well, this is what we're accustomed to see. And this is pretty much, this is clear and plain to everybody to see in the videos, for example, put forth by Europol, but also by other actors such as, for example, National Geographic. Now, I would like to show you one of these videos, specifically one by Europol. There won't be time for the National Geographic, but the interesting part is that this representation, despite produced by different actors with different agendas, such as National Geographic vis-a-vis Europol, tend to converge in this idea of human smuggling. Let me put it on. It's done? Yeah. So, I mean,
at least
what
30 migrants are missing following 2 shipwrecks over the weekend off the Italian island of Lampedusa.
what this type of narratives tend to evoke? Well, first of all, the idea that human smuggling is something elusive, mysterious. We don't know. We don't know who the smuggler is. I mean, we just catch a glimpse of someone, of presumably a smuggler, who was arrested with a hood hidden, his face hidden by a hood. The other videos, why the one by National Geographic, is the same. We used to just see it in a small dot running away from Border Patrol chasing this person. Here in this snapshot taken from the Newsweek, you have just a section of a face of the smuggler. Doesn't allow us to recognize who the smuggler is, right? Just give you, even if anything, even adds to this mystery about this person who is obviously a puppeteer, someone behind the massacres that are occurring in the Mediterranean or along the US-Mexico border or in the Sahara or wherever. It's obviously moral and abusive. If anything, what we can catch from these master narratives about human smuggling and irregular migration is that smugglers are interested in profit, only, exclusively on profit, don't care about the lives of their supposedly clients, if not victims. Often clients and victims are used as a synonyms when we talk about human smuggling. It's an expanding criminal business. I mean, and presumably so. Since human smuggling is such a multi-billionaire business, then we can assume that smugglers tend to grow into very multinational of crime, where managing different crimes altogether. So it's not a chance, it's not a case that we have showed that these videos shown, for example, images of weapons, of passports, of drugs, all together with smuggling people, human beings. And last but not least, migrant smuggling is often conflated with human trafficking. As per international law, we are talking of two different phenomena. Human smuggling, migrant smuggling, the migrant is a customer who buys a service. The smuggler is the service provider. Human trafficking, the migrant is the service itself that is sold, board, or else by the traffickers in order to make money. However, in these videos, what comes out is that the smugglers and the trafficker are the same, because smuggling and exploiting people, eventually ending up selling these people, if not altogether killing them, is pretty much the same thing. As I said, what struck me most about the TikTok messages I analyzed is that they diverge substantially from this narrative. So in this presentation, I will focus on the videos posted by smugglers on TikTok. Now, why TikTok? Why social media in general? Because it's over the past years there has been an increasing interest in the intersection of migration and social media, and for good reasons. These social media in general, have shown an unprecedented capacity for the rapid creation of content, audiovisual content, and also for the global dissemination of this audiovisual content. But even most importantly is that this audiovisual content is produced not only by the so-called experts, such as journalists or artists, but pretty much everybody can access this capacity and produce content, even including the criminals. And it's not a case, especially in the field of migration, it's not a case that over the past years, a few years ago, Facebook issued a new policy trying to prevent smugglers from using the platform in order to advertise these services. Other platforms have been less, say, proactive in curbing smuggling activities. One of them is TikTok, which has become one of the main places where smugglers advertise their services. Now, so in this presentation, I want to focus on the messages that migrant smugglers post on TikTok for two main goals. The first one, I want to better understand or to shed more light on the complexities of the master tale about irregular migration, a tale that involves different perspectives, different narratives. And secondly, by doing so, I would like to glimpse into the capacity of criminal actors to shape the very fabric of migration governance. Because if migration governance is the constellation, at least how it is defined by scholars such as, for example, Andrew Geddes, is the constellation of policies, practices, and above all, discourses about the steering steering migration, well, then if we look at how criminal actors such as smugglers produce discourse, then we can also have a glimpse into how migration governance is transformed or reproduced. Let me just spend a few words on a bit more this time, a few words on methodology. This, by the way, is a work in progress. So as I speak, this research is progress, and with the help of my co-author, who is Alice Massari, who is the visual expert here. Now, the research has been carried out analyzing both the audiovisual and textual elements of the videos posted on TikTok by smugglers. The study focused exclusively on the publicly available videos. So we didn't access private channels. We'd avoid any form of interaction with the content creators, so meaning the smugglers themselves. Data collection occurred between January 2023 to April 2024. We selected eventually 117 videos based on popularity metrics. In other words, we selected those whose accounts had more followers, views, and likes. Both accounts, and videos themselves. We analyzed, and we did that in order to capture content with a significant audience and engagement. So we didn't look just at the smugglers, the production of the video, analyze the video themselves, but also how the audience engaged with these videos. Now, we used the analysis was carried out taking into consideration 6 dimensions. The metadata, in other words, we look at the followers, likes, comments, the genre, where the video is a collection of still images or just actually full-fledged video. The representational dimension, so what is actually represented, what the people do in the video. The interactive meaning, what is the relationship between the audience and the viewer and the subject represented. There is a eye direct contact with the subject. Subject looks straight at the camera. What is the angulation of the camera? The compositional meaning, is there music, text, light, sharpness of focus? And finally, the thematic content. What is the nature of this video? Is meant to be, a witness testimony? It's a product advertisement? It's both, or something else? So by looking at these 6 dimensions, eventually we managed to identify diverse narrative elements, which, for simplicity, we grouped together into 2 core narrative elements. The first one is feasibility and safety. If anything, these videos evoke the idea of feasibility, the trip, the being smuggled, the regular journey is something possible, especially with the help of smugglers who provide protection or at least logistical help. So as a matter of fact, many of these videos, of these messages, mirror the essence of a touristic brochure. So let me show you just shortly this video.
Can you please unmute yourself?
Like this?
No.
Sorry. So yes, it's a touristic brochure in many so obvious ways. These videos are often dense with captions that offer logistical details, such as, for example, this one: pricing, destination, contact information. Interestingly enough, they are different languages, even though Arabic is the lingua franca. They often use also different languages in order to access a broader audience. And there are even logos. This is something unexpected, such as golden lion, golden eagles, or any other animal often used for logos. It's unexpected because there is pride, and there is it shows the pride of smuggling people properly. So it's a guarantee of what I'm doing is done properly, to the extent that I put my information in the logo. So and create recognizable branding. And not only indicate the service provider's identity, but also instill trust to the viewer. Sometimes captions do not simply detail payment conditions, but also provide insurance schemes. They say that there are up to 3, for example, return free journeys if the first journey turns out to be unsuccessful. There is child friendly sometimes the smuggling service. Depending on the type of offer, these messages tend to emphasize different aspects of this offer. But point is that also the style of this video plays a key role in communicating authenticity. Many of these videos use documentary-like techniques. For example, that cameras are handheld, and the video they are presented are often unedited. And it's interesting because unlike the kind of videos that we are accustomed to see, for example, by law enforcement, that tend to portray irregular migration with an aerial view taken from an helicopter, here this video shows a more horizontal relationship with tend to establish a more horizontal relationship with the audience and the viewers. Sometimes these videos also present tribal codes, such as 505 or 501. These codes are often associated with tribe. And this is because smuggling works very well with ethnic relationship of trust, ethnic, tribal, kinship relationship that tend to ensure the prospective customer that there is trust because we share the same ties. May these ties be ethnic, kinship, or tribal. But it's not all. It's not just about feasibility, protection, safety. It's also about defiance and transgression. Now, the video posted by smugglers on TikTok do not simply promote safety and trust, but they also convey a narrative of resistance and defiance. Resistance, they portray, they show the physical and emotional challenges that migrants face, emphasizing their determination to overcome. A small wonder also because often on board of dinghies, rubber dinghies, smugglers, there are no smugglers, but are just migrants. So it's important here because these videos show the agency of migrants and not just them as passive clients of the smugglers. Let me show you this video, which really encompasses clearly what I want to show. So, well, I mean, as you can see the video, I mean, we don't know whether this was a Greek coast guard that was chasing the smuggling the rubber dinghy. We don't know whether the Greek coast guard eventually refrained from chasing the smuggler, or the dinghy at least, because they were aware of being recorded, or something else. We don't know. But anyway, this is what the video seems to hint at, that the migrants are capable of resisting and fighting against an oppressor. And this oppressor is not the smuggler, but significantly is the Coast Guard, and in general, the migration regime in place that prevent them from crossing. Even the music. The music is sometimes a militant Syrian music, often used in combat. Is a militant Syrian music, often used not in combat, but by people resisting the regime. And they tend to, not this one, but many others. The use of music, it's obviously linked to this association between fighters and migrants, trying to overcome an unjust system, an oppressor. Even hashtags sometimes are used significantly. For example, we have hashtags such as crossers without fear, hashtag explore, hashtag adventures without borders, that try to draw a connection between the fun and the joy of overcoming challenges, of making it, of being an adventure. They try to instill into the viewer the idea that you can make it eventually, and it's you that who can make it. Yeah, so now the representational themes in these videos suggest a shift from traditional securitizing narratives to narrative frames that emphasize, I think, two core elements: protection and empowerment. Protection provided by the smugglers, who are service providers. I still remember that during an interview with a migrant, he was proud of not using smugglers, of not being a spoiled child that needs smugglers to make the crossing. He could do it alone. So, ironically, it was the absence of smugglers who made him proud of what he did, because with smugglers, you are too protected. At least this is what he said. Of course, we know that the reality is much more complex than that. And these videos tend to convey this idea. If you really want to do it, you want to do the crossing, you need an expert, someone who provide logistical help and protection. But it's also about empowerment. Migrants are portrayed as resilient individuals who actively confront and overcome obstacles, asserting their agency against a restrictive system. Now, together, these two frames, protection and empowerment, kind of turns upside down what we are accustomed to see in mainstream narratives of irregular migration. Mainstream narratives of irregular migration tend to portray the relationship between the triangular relationship between migrants, smugglers, and law enforcement in a way that recalls Sergio Leone's movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Evil. Now, the good are the law enforcement. The poor, the victims are the migrants, and the bad ones are, of course, the smugglers. This video turns upside down this narrative, showing how, I mean, evoking the idea that smugglers and migrants are pretty much at the same level. And on the other, and they fight. So the bads, they fight an unjust system of migration governance. Now, of course, I mean, we can argue that these are moral undertones used by people involved in a rather unsavory business, who do not want to portray themselves as reckless villains, precisely because they are actually reckless villains. But what is striking is that even from the audience engagement, we can kind of see some sort of how this narrative has been echoed also by the audience, so presumably the prospective migrants, they use their services. And this because, I mean, most of these videos, they have and massive numbers of likes, of thumbs ups, followers. For example, a video from one profile received, just a video, almost 20,000 likes. Another received over 30,000 likes. Another video garnered around 15,000 likes. And then there are profiles that have almost 40,000 followers. Another profile had 60,000 followers and still is posting. This, interestingly enough, this profile was smuggling looked like a family business because all the family appeared to be involved, and they switched and they became even influencers. So starting, they begin to show also advertisement, for example, for ice cream and other products. Now, of course, I mean, you can say that because if you scroll through the messages and the likes and the comments on these videos, you get struck by the number of positive and the very few negative comments. So of course, you cannot edit comments on TikTok. You can delete negative comments. So we may also entertain the hypothesis that the smugglers have started deleting all the bad comments, but I'm a bit skeptical about that. Even if this happen in a few cases, because in other cases you can see very bad comments among very, very good comments that have not been deleted. And often the smugglers who actually do not want to receive bad comments, they tend to stop the capacity of posting comments on their videos. This is something you can do apparently on TikTok. I asked my daughter, and but overall, when we went through, when we did with this research, we monitor daily, and we tend to see mostly, actually largely positive comments. Now, with this, I would like to conclude because otherwise there is no more time. Why? I mean, there is definitely a strong level of engagement from the audience, which is likely composed of migrants and prospective migrants. Of course, we don't know whether they are all prospective migrants, but presumably so. Also based on the type of comments that you can read, such as "I really enjoy," "Thanks, Alhamdulillah, thanks God you made it, you made me cross the border," and so definitely some of them, a large share of them is migrants. Probably not all of them. Probably some of these comments are forged. But there is an engagement, and this is a positive engagement. And this suggests that this narrative promoted by these videos are not only reaching the intended viewers, but are also resonating with them in a meaningful way. Now, why this engagement is clear, the exact nature of this relationship between smugglers and their audience is a bit more unclear. Why is that? I mean, are smugglers actively shaping their prospective clients by their skillful use of TikTok? Or simply their messages are tapping into pre-existing sentiments among migrants or would-be migrants. Based on my research, we cannot establish a causal relationship. And honestly, based on my ethnographic research among migrants and smugglers, I shy away from the first hypothesis that smugglers are somehow influencing migrants into doing this. Definitely was, but we cannot exclude that either. Definitely what we can argue, what we can see is that they share, both migrants and smugglers often share an almost overlapping moral economy, where both perceive themselves as being at the wrong side and where the oppressors are believed to be the migration authorities. In any case, what I found interesting is how smugglers, and what deserves more attention is how criminal actors may participate and actively shape few key aspects, key dimensions of migration governance, in this case, the discourse revolving around migration governance. And that would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luigi, for this very interesting presentation. We will now open the floor for questions from all of you. We can maybe start from the room. We also have a hand up online. So maybe we take the question from the online participant first. So Paula Gori, you have the floor.
Thank you for the floor. I have a couple of questions. First of all, Luigi, thanks a lot. It was super interesting. As you know, I'm based at the European Digital Media Observatory. We deal with disinformation, but in general, we deal with content moderation. So I have some questions related to what TikTok is doing, basically. So the first is, you were saying smugglers advertise their messages. I hope it's not paid advertising. So they're not paying TikTok to get it promoted, but just it was a way to say, they use these videos to kind of show their services. The second thing is, I'm wondering if you did this analysis manually or if you got access to the researchers API of TikTok, because this is something that actually the online platforms are supposed to grant. And according to our experience, TikTok is not so easily accessible. So I just have a question on that. And related to that, I'm wondering if you also did some sentiment analysis of, for example, the comments. I mean, you mentioned like that you saw more positive than negative, but I was wondering if you worked with a data analyst to kind of go a little more in depth on that. And the final question is, where this account then finally signaled to TikTok, or did you did it or someone else, or are they still quite active on the platform? Thank you.
Any other question for now? Yes, please, Julia.
Thank you so much, Luigi. It was very interesting as always. So I have a question. You said that they even offer some child-friendly services. So I was wondering if you notice any difference between this advertisement targeted towards men and towards women. Is there a difference, or it's a very male, let's say, dominated service?
Thank you. We are going to take one more question for this round from Nabil from UNHCR online.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for this. I concur with the other speakers that it was super interesting. And I was just wondering then, Luigi, maybe that's a next research, but you know, we engage a lot with refugee communities and to try to communicate in terms of what to do and what to avoid. But what could be the counter then messaging to this kind of videos? I mean, you say they engage quite positively. Our experience with our CWC channels is that the engagement is often critical vis-a-vis us, whereas we're trying to portray things and explain the risks and dangers of some of the things that you described. So what could be kind of counter messaging? This is basically my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So Luigi, back to you for this first round, and we will then go back and collect more questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Paula. Yeah, actually, we hired a data analyst and a TikTok expert, probably because I'm too boomer, but I really struggle to do a research on TikTok. And okay, I may forget something about, so no, all the videos were publicly available, and smugglers don't pay, there were no private, there was no private service on TikTok. Actually, I was not even aware about that. But I can assure that these were all publicly available without a private subscription or whatever. What was the other question? Sorry.
It was if you did some sentiment analysis, so if you have some graphs of the various sentiments that come out from the comments besides positive and negative, I don't know, enthusiasm, fear, anger, whatever. I mean, usually you can do these maps with the various sentiments, or even maybe it's a suggestion for the future research. And if in the end the accounts were signaled to TikTok, so if they're still there or not.
Yeah, no, thanks. No, we didn't do this sentiment analysis, but it's interesting, actually. It's something that we definitely may do in the future. even with this database. I think, I mean, yeah, I think we can definitely do that also because the number of comments allows such an investigation. The analysis was done by the selection. We selected these videos, and eventually the analysis was done manually by us, by me and myself and my co-author. But such a sentiment analysis may be actually worth pushing. So thanks. As for the signaling these videos to the authorities or to the TikTok stuff, we didn't do it. Also for ethical reasons, because when I remember I was approached at the time when Meta wanted to issue this new policy with restricting content on advertising smuggling services, and we kind of, and myself along with other scholars, were quite critical of curbing this type of content, because anyway they provide some sort of information, even if this may be distorted by the agenda of the smugglers. But still better than not having information at all. And still they provide some sort of services in contexts where there are no services and no any other way of fleeing persecution and violence. So I'm not obviously saying that smuggling is the solution, but I'm saying that given the context, smuggling is the lesser evil. So that's why I didn't do that. Yeah, thanks. They were also, yes, some of these videos were also very, also based on my experience, not just on these videos, but these videos, some of these videos were also advertising smuggling services that could ensure protection to women. And they were specifically fleshing out this type of information because in order to address the concerns of would-be female migrants or their families traveling together. Because anyway, smuggling as being a fundamentally predatory activity is a looming narrative that also among migrants themselves. It's not a chance that smugglers are perceived as predators, such as, and are called with names such as coyotes, for example, and migrants as preys, and they're called proyos. And these migrants are aware about that. So smugglers, like advertising their services for women and children, was a way to address this concern. I mean, an attempt. Nabil, can I ask you to repeat the question, because I couldn't hear you very well.
Yes, no worries. No, the question was, I mean, in light of what you've described and the way the smugglers are portraying themselves and portraying their services, what could be the kind of counter narrative that, well, organizations like UNHCR, for instance, can adopt to try to raise awareness of the viewers about the dangers of engaging into this kind of onward movements, etc., etc. I mean, this is what we try to do. There was a whole campaign, I don't know if you ever heard of it, which was called Tell the Real Stories, to try to decrease actually the attractiveness of moving onward with such a means. So since you've studied a little bit I mean, obviously the mechanisms that are used by the smugglers here, I was wondering whether you could have already some kind of ideas about how a counter narrative could be developed. Over.
Yeah, this is a very good question. The point is that I don't know to what extent a counter narrative can be effective, because I mean, the point is that migrants are largely, of course, depending on the type of on the migrant community, on the country of origin. But many migrants are aware, at least largely, of the faces and the dangers that they are facing. So the point is, there is no really way of showing what's going on in a better light, under a better light, because they already know what's going on. So point is perhaps being more transparent and not simply not tapping into, but it's probably UNHCR, I'm not sure that is doing that anyway. So, but the point is that something, for example, law enforcement narratives, they are very little effective because tend to reproduce this simplistic understanding of irregular migration that it's clear to migrants that is not the case, is not what they are seeing, is not what they are facing. So honestly, I don't know whether there is, to be honest, I don't know whether there is a counter narrative, that can somehow prevent migrants from embarking on dangerous journeys. It's more about opening legal channels for mobility, more than actually trying to come up with more effective narratives.
Thank you. I think we're ready to collect a few more questions. So I think we have Valentina Bakin first online.
Thank you very much. And hi, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation, Luigi, and it was really, really interesting. My question is, do you know if, aside from these videos you looked at, but do you know if similar means are also used to, for example, explain what happens after the travel or to provide information on, what to do once arrived? I know that some NGOs had tried to set up Facebook pages with mediators that would explain, how to apply for asylum or visas, and they had used social media for that. So I was wondering if there is also this type of channels that are used for some of this information. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we have Melita also online.
Yes, hello, thank you. I have two very short questions, and thank you, Luigi. That was really very interesting. Number one, which routes were you exploring? The Central Mediterranean as well, or only Eastern Mediterranean? And which nationalities? Because as far as I know from my research, smuggling networks are very much concentrating on their own people. And the second question is regarding you use the word child friendly. Does it mean that they are targeting unaccompanied minors specifically, like we know from Eastern Africa? Or are they rather telling the parents that it is safe to send the children, like in my experience, they would do maybe in Afghanistan? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Thank you. Final question for this round from Kaya or Kaja.
Yeah, Kaya, thank you so much for the presentation. I have a very simple question. I was wondering, because I doubt that the smugglers call themselves smugglers. I was wondering how those profiles are called and how are they calling themselves and their services, and how maybe you look for those profiles using certain like code names or like keywords. Because I doubt that if I put smugglers on TikTok, those accounts will appear, or maybe there will. I don't know. I'm just very curious about that, and thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Luigi.
Yeah, no, thanks. All very good questions. Yeah, Valentina, no, most of comments were quite short. That's why we don't really do an analysis our analysis based on the comments, on the audience, on the comments that these videos received was quite shallow and superficial, because was, apart from a few numerical indication, didn't give us much. Yes, some people praise smugglers for the successful journey. Others recommended the smugglers. But usually these messages didn't really give us indication of what happened after that, after the journey. Melita, yes. Well, the research was carried out actually even across the entire Mediterranean, and then we also included other countries, such as, for example, smuggling across the US-Mexico border. Eventually, this presentation is restricted to the Eastern Mediterranean route, but the research was broader. The 117 videos included routes and nationalities, also from a broader number of nationalities and routes. Most of what was interesting, and perhaps also this and made us wonder whether TikTok is generally used by Arab-speaking communities is that most of the languages, I mean, the main language was Arabic, even though it wasn't by any means the only language used to advertise their services. This was mostly Arabic, even along the US-Mexico border, interestingly enough, was often Arabic and Spanish. But well, Spanish is understandable. Arabic came more like a surprise. Yes. Smugglers were, based on my experience, smugglers tend to avoid taking in charge or smuggling children because children slow down, because children involves protection risks, and that protection risks that smugglers they may be concerned because they may be accountable for. The reason for which the smugglers that are willing to accept children, well, if you pay, usually you must pay an extra for children. Sometimes smugglers offer discount for smuggling children. To be honest, I don't know why certain smugglers actually they refrain from smuggling children, and others actually even offered discounts on their services. It's something that I honestly don't know. We couldn't understand from the analysis, from the data that we collected. Kaya, yes, this is a very good question. Basically, most of smugglers don't use smugglers as, which in Arabic is muharrib. They don't use for smuggler. They don't use the term muharrib to describe themselves because the term has a slightly now not anymore slightly, but an obvious negative connotation. So they don't usually use their real names either. What they use is their patronyms. So for example, if you are a smuggler, you call yourself Abu Jihad or Abu Rahel, which is commonly used in among Arab-speaking communities. And these were the names that were appearing on TikTok messages.
So we have questions in the room. Yes, please.
Thanks, Luigi, for the amazing presentation. I was just asking if you could detect any typical market dynamics in these exchanges. For instance, competition along certain routes based on economic offers, or if appeal was mostly based on, as you said before, trust, connections. I mean, can you detect a market throughout these videos?
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. Thank you also from me for this great presentation. I'm curious about the role of smugglers as migration governors. So I wondered whether you find any hints in the contents of the videos of self-understanding as political actors, because when you describe them as sort of travel agents, that sounds all a bit sort of, it sounds innocent in a way. And I wondered if you find something like border policy monitoring in these videos, or some kind of self-understanding of political or migration governance in the videos. Thank you.
Please.
Very much for this edition. I want to ask a directly a question. I was very interested in the use of tribal codes, and I was wondering if the strategies of using tribal codes on TikTok complements the strategies of referral to tribal connections in place in the states where smugglers come from. And the second one is the meaning of defiance and aggression in terms of resistance, which implements a sense of empowerment and agency. Could that help us to define a new sense of agency in terms of autonomy, migrants?
Thank you. Back to you, Luigi. And after this, we can maybe take 2 more questions and then wrap up. But over to you for now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Again, very good round of comments and questions. Economic competition, the market inside smuggling. This is a very good insight. Yes. I realize we pay little attention to that. But yes, of course. To begin with, the evolution of the use of smuggling by, the use of TikTok by migrant smugglers. In the beginning, our research assistant, who did a splendid research, noticed that there were many more smugglers' accounts on TikTok. Eventually, there was a kind of monopoly, and there were very few decreased the number of accounts, tend to be concentrated under the hands of few smugglers. Not that this shouldn't necessarily be an indication of professionalism, sophistication, because many of these videos and these accounts you could see were really homemade and not really professional, but still they look like the more skillful managed to attract to converge into eventually ended up into few accounts who were monopolizing the market, at least is on TikTok. So we don't know whether the others switch to different platforms, but presumably, I mean, we can hypothesize that these were the most skillful, and this is the reason why they just remain online. There is something which may connect also that has to do with the market and also with the recent political developments. With the recent overthrowing of Assad regime in Syria, smugglers stop all of a sudden posting videos. So this may be an indication that somehow we're authorizing or we're working in connection with the regime or with the authorities. So we don't know that, but what we know is that they stop. So it may be that this share of the market was also infiltrated by the government, or what was the former government in Libya. So it was a very good question, but I cannot read my handwriting. What was political?
If they identify themselves as political.
Yes. Well, this is visible in the messages, but even more visible if you do research, ethnographic research with the smuggler and stuff. In the messages, you could catch glimpses that what they do hints, they perceive themselves as also as fighters, or those who help people fighting an unjust system of migration governance. If you do research with smugglers, at least with those who I interviewed, Matt, they actually take a great deal of pride in what they do. But again, I'm not talking about all smugglers. This mine was an ethnographic research. But anyway, political consciousness and pride and political pride in what they do is definitely a part of at least a share of people who smuggle. Many other people may be just profit-oriented. They don't care about anything else but just making money. But we should also consider that this is an element of smuggling too. Yeah, it's very good comment. We don't know. We don't know whether there was whether these tribal codes eventually they're kind of they bring back to some sort of referral mechanism. Most likely. We know that smugglers that do not, but this is not based on TikTok analysis, but on previous researches, that smugglers that do not comply with their services, they may not, but they may incur into sanctions from the migrant community, especially where where there are clear and strong ethnic and kinship and tribal links between the smugglers and their customers. But this is something that we may want to explore more, actually. Thanks. Yes, of course. There was what appeared, I mean, clearly, at least to us, was that these videos tend to emphasize the agency of migrants, precisely because on board of dinghies, smugglers seldom put a step a foot. So migrants are alone. So by showing the videos of these migrants, they were not advertising them, they were not showing their capacity of making the trip, but they were showing the capacity of migrants of making the trip thanks to their help. But still, there was a great deal of agency from the side of the migrants involved in the smuggling process.
Thank you very much. We have 5 minutes left. Two more questions online. Mohamed Tarwat, please.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation, Luigi. Just two short questions. According to your observations of these videos and accounts, how often
Can you
are
speak
they?
up? Can you speak up a bit? We cannot hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Could you maybe come a bit closer to the microphone?
As close as I can get. Can you hear me? I can write my questions in the chat box.
It's okay. Try. We will.
Okay, I'm just asking how, according to the observations of these videos and accounts, how often do they post per week or per month? So the frequency of posting, and if they use a specific call to action, or if they take the conversation to another social media platform to initiate the conversation with the person who's interested. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Julia van Dessel, please.
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you, Luigi, for the amazing presentation. I have two questions. The first one is, so from what I understood, Meta recently committed to delete all these accounts. And I was wondering if you know how practically they're going to do that. Is there a dedicated team looking for keywords? Is it being done through the use of AI? Or yeah, if you know more about that. And the second question is, I was wondering if you were aware that a few years ago, there was an EU project funded, which was dedicated to screening social media in order to fund this smuggling advertisements. But interestingly, it was not to delete them, but rather to use them as a source of information to know about the evolution of smuggling routes, how to prevent boats from leaving, and so on. And this project got cancelled by the European Protector of Digital Rights eventually, but I was wondering if you know about any other similar project currently being carried out by the EU or other actors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. Very good questions. I'm not sure I can answer them because being a research in progress, so I lack part of this information. Anyway, Mohammed, yes, this is how frequently they posted is definitely something that we know. I should know, but unfortunately, I don't remember right now because the data collection was carried out by a research assistant. My guess, it's a pity it could not be here today. My guess is that they did this posting daily. But don't take me on that for sure, because I mean I have to double check this data, this information. And we originally tried to see whether there was also Telegram, to see whether smugglers were using also other platforms. We saw eventually what we realized that TikTok was partly because our research assistant was much more familiar with TikTok rather than with other social media. But we also tried to do this research on Telegram, and apparently smugglers tend to use more TikTok than Telegram and other other platforms. Originally, Facebook was pretty much used by smugglers, but then we noticed that, well, after the issuing of the new policy, smuggler could not really anymore advertise their services. So TikTok became the main, has become, at least up to the last, to the end of data collection, was the main platform, at least one of the main platforms that we know used by smugglers. And we don't know whether the smugglers that were posting on TikTok were also using other platforms, presumably. But that is a good question. Yeah, Julia, thanks for the questions. Again, I mean, to be honest, I don't know where there is, well, definitely there is a dedicated team. I don't know how they operate, what parameters they use, what the criteria, how they operate. And actually, to be honest, I didn't even know, because again, it's research in progress, so my apologies, that there was this EU project. Actually, I would like, now that you say so, I would like to explore it and to learn more So can you tell me the name of the project?
Yeah, it was a project that was carried out by the EU Asylum Agency in 2016-17. I can send you the information of the project. I don't know the name like this, but I can send it to you for sure.
Thank you very much.
Sorry to
Thank
barge
you,
in,
and
but I can say
yes.
something about the project because I initiated it in the day. May I?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe very,
So it
very
was
briefly, if you
started.
can.
It was started when I was still working in UNHCR. We were monitoring. That at that time. It was Facebook, practically exclusively Facebook. We were monitoring the communication between smugglers and their potential clients. And then EASO at that stage, with what is now EUAA, took over and took over our staff as well that had been trained. And I was also in charge for that for a while. But then the European Data Protection Commission got upset about it because the researchers, these were researchers who spoke Arabic and Dari and Pashto, they were also using fake names to enter. They never interacted, but they incognito entered some closed groups. And that was seen as a breach of EU data protection. And then the project was discontinued.
Thanks a lot. Would you mind to write the name of the project or to tell me the name of the project?
I don't know under which name it ran with EASO. I would
Okay.
have to look up the data. And there is still a person working in EASO in EUA who was originally on that project. But maybe if you can send me your email and your contact, then I can put you in touch.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you all for your very active participation. We've come to the end of this seminar. So please join me in thanking Luigi for a great work and presentation. Thank you very much. Goodbye.